Hi everybody, hope you're doing well today. This is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Today I have 6 different DIYs, all with the new holiday release from IOD. And project number 1 is some thrifted vases that I purchased. I got these for 75% off, and they're just black glass vases. And I'm just going to clean them up a little bit. I paid $6 for them, 75% off, so I got them for $2. And what I'm going to be doing is I am going to go ahead and be using the new gilded tinsel transfers from the IOD holiday release. And I'm going to be just putting different transfers on each of these vases. And it's really easy to do these. It's not really any harder than regular transfers. They're a little different in how they release. Instead of getting that cloudy look that you get, that kind of frosted look when you do your regular transfers. On the tinsel transfers, it just, when you rub on the portion that you're trying to transfer, it will release and then you'll see through that portion of it. So you just go over it, and you don't have to rub any harder or anything. It's basically the same. You do have to go over the pieces that are more intricate, maybe a little bit more, but you have to do that on regular transfers too. And you just do that and they come off pretty easily. And I just showed you the piece that we took off, and I always think they're just so pretty. I'm going to have to figure out what to do with those. Make a card or something. Anyway, I'm going to do these 3 or other 2 vases with the tinsel transfer, and then we're going to add something else to it. So now what I'm doing is I'm using the words that comes in the same transfer pack, and I'm picking some words to put in the middle of the area that I put the other transfer in, and this is how they look. I think they turned out beautiful. I did add a little bit of gold gilded wax on the top of them. I thought it kind of finished it off. And I think these will be beautiful somewhere in my house. So project number 2, going to be a little bit more complicated, but really not hard. So if you have not seen the tapers by IOD, there's 2 different sets. There's the angelic tapers and the Christmas tapers. And what I'm doing now is I'm using the Christmas tapers, and I'm using some air dry clay in there. And I just press it into the mold, and they do have the micro rim that makes it very, very easy to get a clean impression or casting. And I always do this. I use my little, rubbing tool that you use for transfers. It works great to kind of just rub across the bottom. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm taking 3 different castings out of this mold, and we're going to be using them in our project. So basically, I think I even forgot to put cornstarch in these, but most of the time I get a good casting even when I don't put cornstarch in, but I think later I went in and added some. So I'm going to go ahead and do these, and I press down really well to make sure I get a good impression. And so I usually turn my mold over and let gravity let them come out with those because these are a little fragile. And now what you see me doing is I have some toilet paper rolls that I put some saran wrap on. So these molds will release later. And I'm taking some Type Bond Quick and Thick. I'm taking part of the taper off on the bottom, putting some glue on top, and pressing them together. And I am going to go ahead and leave these like that overnight. And so I have the angelic tapers now, and I'm going to do basically the same thing with them. I'm going to go ahead and cast those, and we're going to be wrapping them around the toilet paper rolls with saran wrap. Of course, you could use, paper towel rolls or anything. Anything about that size. In case you haven't figured it out yet, we're making napkin rings. And now what I'm doing is after I put them all on the toilet paper rolls, I painted them with raw silk by Fusion and left them overnight. And then the next day, all you do is you pull out the toilet paper roll, and then you take the saran wrap out, and you have your napkin rings. Now, I waited overnight, but they were still a little soft and not completely dry. I would definitely, if you have the time, give it about 2 days worth of drying. But it worked fine just after one day. You just have to be a little careful. And now what I'm doing is I am going over them with some metallic gold paint by Fusion. And I go over them with basically one coat, maybe 1.5, just to do a little touch up. And now I'm doing the other 4, and I'm using silver metallic paint by Fusion. And after those are dry, I take my Van Dyke Brown Glaze by Paint Couture, and I am going over them, and I'm wiping back most of it with just a baby wipe. I'm leaving it all in all the cracks and crevices and detail so that you can see them. And it gives it a beautiful antique look, and it really tones down that gold and the silver. And I think they turn out beautiful with that glaze on top of them. And of course, the Fusion paint, even the metallics, are already sealed, so you don't really have to seal them. But the Van Dyke Brown, if you're using it over paint that's not sealed, you can definitely use it as a sealer too. So I'm going to do this over the silver ones and the gold ones. So now what I'm doing is I am taking my gold metallic paint, just what was left on the brush, and I'm doing some dry brushing on the gold piece, the napkin rings I already did. And this is just to kind of brighten them up again and to go on the high spots. And that will bring out some of that gold. And now I'm going to also do it with the silver. And I just let it dry, and that's pretty much it. These were really very easy to do. And I think they'd be a great present or something to sell. now we're on to project number 3. I hope you guys are hanging in there with me. This is a super easy one. I almost wasn't even going to include it, but I thought, oh well, I'm just going to show you. This is a glass soap dispenser that I bought from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just showing you how easy it is to transform them into a Christmas decor piece. I am just taking a piece from Yuletide, and I'm going to go ahead and just transfer that on. And it's super easy to do. It's a little curved on top, but it's not that tough to do curved pieces. So I go ahead and transfer that piece on the back portion of it, and then I'm going to add one to the front portion of it where it says wash your hands. And that is all I'm going to do to this. It's super easy and a great little project that you can do quickly. Have something for your, bathroom, or I'm going to actually use this in my kitchen sink. So anyway, that's it. I thought I would just throw this one in for fun. So we are on to project number 4. And these are absolutely beautiful. If you haven't gotten the tapers, you guys have to get them. They're great. These are very addictive. So what I'm doing here is I am painting them with the copper patina from Dixie Belle. These are angelic tapers. And I'm going over them with one coat, and after it dries, I do a second coat later. And now I'm going over these tapers with the bronze patina. I just want to show you how the different patinas look. And I am only doing these tapers one-sided, but in my previous video, I did do them where I do them double-sided, and I will try and link that in the description box. So if you want to see how to do them double-sided, that you can. Very easy to do. I am going to go ahead and paint the back of these also because I want them to look good on the back. And now I'm going over these with my second coat, and the way the patina works is you put one coat on, you let it dry, and on the second coat, while it's wet, you take the patina spray, and I'm not going to spray it. I have it in a little cup. I poured some out in a cup. You definitely don't want to dip your brush in that you have your patina on and dip it back and forth. You want to have it in a separate container. And I'm just going to dab on the blue patina spray. That way I can have a little bit more control and put it where I want it. And you basically let it sit for about an hour. A lot of times I let it just sit overnight. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to do some on the back too because I want the back to look good. And now on the bronze, I am doing the same thing. I'm going over it with the bronze metallic again. And while it's still wet, and that's the key, guys, you have to do it while it's wet. You go, and I'm going to put the green patina spray. And I do come back in and add a couple little dabs of the blue. On the bronze, I like to mix it up a little bit. And I go in there and I just kind of dab, trying to get it into the little crevices. And now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to use the iron patina. And this is all from Dixie Belle, guys. So they work really, really well. And the patina sprays are from Dixie Belle. So I'm going to go over all of these with the iron patina. And it works pretty much the same way. You do one coat, you let it dry, and then you put another coat, and while it's wet, you put the patina on. So on this one, I'm going to put the blue and the green. And the patina is activated with the metallic particles in the paint. So it's very important when you do these to mix your paint really well, because that stuff settles to the bottom. So I will do this and put the blue and the green on here. And now I'm taking the yellow patina spray, and I highly recommend this when you're using the iron patina. It gives it a very, very old, rusty look to it. I know it looks a little shocking, but it doesn't dry like that bright. None of these do. So I'm going to put them in different spots all over. And it kind of blends with the other colors. That's why I usually mix them and put different ones. And it's okay if they blend together. In fact, it looks good. It looks natural. So now that I let them dry, and I let these dry overnight, I am taking just some metallic regular paint from Fusion, copper, and I am dry brushing. Dry brushing means very little paint on your brush with a fan brush, and I'm going over the high points, because usually when I do the patina, too much of it is patinaed. But look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. You can achieve a similar effect with paint, but there's nothing like the real patina. It's very, you will love, love, love playing with these. So I'm going to go over these. And I think that doing these different patinas on these gives them a very high-end look. And I think these would be very sellable in a craft fair or a booth. They'd make great gifts. So I'm going over the back a little bit too. And as I said in my previous video, you can see how to make the tapers double, but I think single-sided these turn out beautiful. So as you can see, I'm getting back to that copper look. I've taken a lot of the blue away. You may not want to do that. You may want to leave more in there. You just do it to taste. And then what I'm going to do after I've done that, I am going to take a little bit of antique gold rub and buff on my finger. And I'm just going to barely go over the top in just little portions of it. And that just gives it a little bit more contrast and a little bit more interest. And that's all I do to these. And I think they turn out beautiful. I can't say how much I love these tapers. And guys, if you haven't bought them yet, if you haven't got your IOD supplies from the 2024 release, they are all limited, and IOD is selling out of quite a few things. So I would definitely purchase what you want now if you want to get them. I have like a handful of things and certain items, and I have everything, but just like a handful. So, you know, you need to get them if you want them. Anyway, so now what I'm doing is I am taking some Fusion metallic bronze, and I am going over the bronze tapers. And the metallics are all a little different color, and that to me it gives a little more depth to use like two different bronze colors and maybe add a little gold or whatever. It just gives it a lot more interest, and I think it makes it really, really look seriously like a metal product when you're done, like real bronze. So of course I'm going to go over the front with the dry brushing and the back, and I do all of these, and I think they turn out beautiful. I love these. So here's our iron ones, and they look nice and rusty, and I think they definitely look like real iron. But I'm going to make them look more rusty. So I'm using Rust Effects by Finnabar, and you can get that on Amazon. I will try and remember to put the link in the description box. So they have 3 colors that come with this little set, and it is basically a orange, a yellow, and a brown, kind of a textured paint. You could definitely do this on your own with just paint that you mix with some salt wash or baking soda, but I've had these little jars, and if you've watched my channel, I use them all the time, so they have served me well. And all I'm going to do is I add the 3 different colors and I blend them, and I go in and I'll put the orange in, and then I'll put the brown over it, then I'll put the yellow over it. Those are all the things you would see in Rust, and I want to make these look a little bit more rusty crusty. I know that this look is not everybody's jam, but I have a tree upstairs in my house that has all kinds of rusty crusty ornament things in it, and I thought these would look really pretty in that tree, and I thought I would include them, and just in case other people out there like them, you know. So, and even if you don't want to do the tapers in these, there's just a lot of other things that you could, you know, rust up to put in your Christmas tree, because I think that kind of primitive old rusty look is used a lot in different Christmas decorations. So anyway, I go ahead and blend all these together, and that is all I do with these. So now what I'm doing is I have some larger jump rings, and I am taking some super glue that comes with a spray to make it instant, and I just put a blob of super glue on there, and then I attach the ring and I spray it so it attaches, and that is how I put my ribbon through. And I do that on all of the tapers, and that is really my favorite way of doing it on the single tapers or the single ornaments. Again, in my previous video, when I back the ornaments and I double them, I do use a little screw-in eyelet. Anyway, that's it. I hope you like them. I think they turned out beautiful. So now we're on to project number 5. Hope you're still here. This one is fairly easy, but I love how it turned out. I have this tray that I bought, and it was very inexpensive at the thrift store. And again, I got it for 75% off. And I am going to use it. I'm living dangerously here, guys, because I'm using Paint Couture Aquamarine, and all I have is this little 1-ounce jar. I've just ordered a bunch of Paint Couture stuff that's coming in, and like I said, I will get that on my website as soon as I get it in. And I am painting this tray with Paint Couture Aquamarine because this color to me just screams retro kitschy, and I had to use it. So I went ahead and did probably about 3 coats, and I barely had enough to finish. But anyway, I did have enough, and I am using the Kitschy Christmas, and I absolutely love this. All the transfers, by the way, I think, except for the tinsel one, is they're all sold out at IOD. So if you want to get them from your stockist, you got to get them now. I only have a handful of each of them, and I'm guessing. And I reordered everything, guys, 3 times. So I'm putting all the little pieces on there. I love this little snowman. He's going in the middle, and the pieces that you see surrounding the little tray, they are part of the wreath that you get in Kitschy Christmas. I don't know what happened to the footage of when I cut it apart, but there's a wreath in there, and I cut it in pieces. And I just added it around the edges. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the snowman to it. And I had put a coat of polyacrylic down earlier. I showed you that, but I didn't tell you what I was doing. And I put the gloss polyacrylic down. I just kind of think that this, I don't know, the whole look needed to be glossy, like it was maybe a jade or you know, just that colored glass that you saw a lot, or maybe even a shiny plastic. And so I'm going to use this, and then on the other ones, the other pieces around the side, I end up adding more to it. I added some little pieces of candy that come in the Kitschy Christmas. I didn't know I was going to do that, so I went ahead and sealed this with polyacrylic and let it dry. And then, of course, I decided it wasn't done, so I came back. So it already has 2 coats of polyacrylic on. I usually coat any of my trays that I do about 2 to 3 coats of the polyacrylic. And polyacrylic is food safe after about a week, so that's why I use it on my trays. I'm sure other products can be too, but I know this is, so I went ahead and used it. And so I'm going to go ahead and put these little candies on. And I also go in and look, Kitschy Christmas has some little borders. I put those on also and kind of added it to it, and just kind of kept layering things until I liked the way it was. And to me, that's the fun of using these transfers, is don't use them as don't just use them as they are. Cut them apart, add, layer. It works really well to do that. I've even used things from different books in this in this release from the different books, and kind of mixed and matched them together too. So after I'm done, I put my final coat of polyacrylic on the front and back, And that is it. And I think this turned out super, super cute. Project number 6, you've made it to the end, and I believe this one's the best. I absolutely love how this turns out. Okay, so we're going to be using a quick drying resin or quick curing resin. And by the way, guys, I never wear gloves or a mask when I do it, and that's my choice. I probably will never do it. You should read the directions on your resin and decide for yourself if you want to do that. I don't, but you know, I'm not probably a great example for doing things the right way. I just kind of do them my way, so don't use me as an example. Anyway, so I'm casting several different molds here, and one of them you see me using is Oh Christmas Tree, which is no longer available. And I am going to offer different cast of that in my on my website if you're interested, because it's really hard to get that mold. Maybe you can still find it. I have seen a few stockists that have them. So now what I'm doing is I'm heating up this hot glue that I had a ribbon something glued on here, and boy, did I put a lot of hot glue. So I'm heating it up with my heat gun so I can melt it, and I'm scraping it off, and then I'm going to sand it off, and I'm going to get as much of it off as I can. And there's still quite, it was really a lot of glue on it. I don't know it was just a ribbon. I have no idea why I put that much glue on there. So anyway, I'm going to sand the whole thing. I've got glue in different spots. And honestly, I could have took this outside and used my, my electric sander, but I didn't. So I'm mixing up some Fusion Highlander, which is absolutely one of the most beautiful Christmas reds. Love, love it, love it. And I'm mixing it up with some salt wash to give it some texture. And that way, that texture will hide the glue residue that I didn't get up. It's great for hiding imperfections. It's great for adding texture to like a plastic frame to make it look more expensive. I almost always add salt wash whenever I'm doing any kind of a frame. But this is just an old cabinet door. Actually, I bought this at a garage sale for 25 cents. There was a lady, I guess they remodeled kitchens. Her husband was in a construction thing, and there was all these sample doors, and I bought them for 25 cents, and I bought a bunch, but she still had a bunch left over, and if I would have bought more if I thought about it. But anyway, these are leftover projects that I had remade, and they're sitting in the garage, and they're already cut. This middle part's already covered with chalkboard paint. But I'm going to give it a fresh coat of chalkboard paint. And I just got mine. I don't even remember the brand. But I got it on Amazon. Just plain old chalkboard paint. And I'm going to go ahead and freshen this up and give it one more coat of fresh chalkboard paint to do our project. Okay, so now I'm just taking all the little pieces that I cast and deciding where I want to put them. And I'm taking all of the little pieces after I decide to do that. I'm covering them with a Fusion's raw silk. And I probably didn't need to do this step, but I'm going to be covering this with another color after. and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to go over it twice. And now what I'm doing is I'm covering the Christmas tree and the two other little pieces of greenery with a Bayberry by Fusion. What a beautiful color. Oh my gosh. One of my favorites. So I'm going to go over this with Bayberry. And then the two little greenery pieces. And when I was taking those greenery pieces off in the tree, a little tip broke off of both, but I painted those and we're just going to glue them back together. So now I'm going over the other portions of the sleigh mold. And I'm using Fusion's Pearl Metallic. It's just basically a white that has a pearly metallic look to it. It's beautiful. And all of these metallics, once they dry, they really are vibrant. You really can't tell how beautiful they are until after they dry. So I'm going to go over the whole thing. And after it's dry, I'm going to take my Van Dyke Brown by Paint Couture. Love this stuff. It's a glaze. And I go over the whole thing with the glaze. And then I'm just going to take a baby wipe and wipe back a good portion of it. And really make sure I get it in all those little details and all the cracks and crevices. And wipe off quite a bit of it. So now I'm taking the Bronze Metallic by Fusion and I'm going over all of the little detail areas on the bottom of the sleigh that I think would possibly be metal, and I'm just kind of going over them, and I end up changing brushes because it's not small enough or detailed enough, but I go over all of it and I do just one coat of that and go over kind of the back portion of the sleigh with it. So now I'm going to go over just a portion of the deer, just the reins on there. And I don't show me doing it, but I also go over the antlers. I kind of do it as an afterthought. Because it's really weird. I was looking at it when it was all done, and I went, wait, I need to do those. But anyway, I do end up going over those also. But I also go over all of the little presents, the bows on them. And pretty much, it's really not hard. You just get a brush, and since they're raised, you just do the tops of them. I'm not really trying to go do them perfectly. I just basically do the tops, and it's super easy to do. And after I do all that, I go over everything with my Van Dyke Brown glaze, so they're all going to look similar to what I did on the sleigh. And I know it looks like a hot mess, and my hands look like a hot mess. My hands always look like a hot mess. But in any case, I go over all of these and wipe back a good portion of it. And I make sure I get all the bronze on there. One thing that I do like to do on these is let the metallic dry, you know, to really get the look that I want, and then kind of see what I need to add to it after, because it does really dry just really beautiful. You can't really tell until then. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking that same bronze metallic, and I am going over the part of the bow mold. This bow mold, when I first saw it, I went, who's going to use that? I use this a lot. I absolutely love it. You would be surprised how many things that you need something like that finishing piece, and it always seems to be the right piece. I don't know. Anyway, now I'm going to go over my Christmas tree with the Van Dyke Brown, my Paint Couture, the glaze, and I'm going to put it on and wipe it off. And I know it looks really dark, but I'm going to be wiping most of it back. And by putting that dark glaze in there, it really is going to make all of the detail in this mold pop. I love this mold, guys. Love it. So if you can find it, I would buy it. I might have one. I think I accidentally bought two. If I do, I'll put it in my on my website. But if not, I will sell you some castings. I don't know when I'll get it on my website, but I will try. So now what I'm doing is I am going over this entire tree with my fan brush and the greenery. And I'm using Conservatory by Fusion. It's quite a bit lighter green. I don't want it to look like snow, but I want to really bring out all of the beautiful detail in the mold. Now I'm taking some antique gold rub and buff, and I am going over all of the same portions that I had put the bronze metallic on. And I'm not doing it like perfectly. I'm just going over the high portions of it so you can still see that antique bronze. I love adding those two things together. And here you see me do it on the bow mold too. I'm just hitting the high portion so you can still see the bronze underneath. And I also will do that on the Christmas presents. And then I'm taking that same, I already did it once. I took the bronze and did these little berries that are on the tree and the pine cones. And then I'm also going to take some of the gold and go over certain portions of it. I'm not going to do all of them, but I want a little bit of that glimmer on there. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking some Tite Bond Quick and Thick, and I'm just gluing all of my pieces on there. And honestly, this is not really something that I would try doing with air dry clay, because I have portions of it that are not really supported by anything, that are kind of sticking off the ends and sticking in the middle. And if you want to do it similar to this, I don't think that that would hold up, but you could definitely try it with that. But I do think that the resin would work better. And I use Fabricast. You can get it on Amazon. It works a lot like the Amazing Casting, but it's a lot cheaper. Although it does cure a lot quicker, so you have to get used to that. So I'm going to just kind of play with it a little bit, figure out where I want everything, and put all the pieces down. So now I have this stencil that I bought off of Amazon, and I'm going to just kind of tape it down. And I am just going to use some chalk paste and my stencil brush, and I'm going to just stencil this on my chalkboard. Super easy to do. I always kind of rub off a lot of my paint that I use before I start to stencil. I don't want to have a lot on my brush. And I'm going to go over the whole thing with it and make sure I get a good impression. And that's pretty much it on this project. Well, thank you for joining me and hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, a like, a share, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when I upload a video. Hopefully I'll get another one out next week. I hope you guys are doing well, and if you want any of these products that I have available, you can get them on my website, rehashdesigns.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.